Hi, this is Ross Cannell, and I'm coming to you from Burbank, California. I'm coming to you from Adam Schiff's district. What I want to tell you about today is the lawsuit that I was in 1999 and how they have chased me for 21 years. They have chased me. They gave me a bill for $327,000. Today it's $1.8 million for a lawsuit that I won. I worked at what was the old MGM film lab. And it turns out everybody that was in that film lab was dying, and they didn't tell me, and they brought me in to clean up what was killing these 138 union members. I was a union member, and my union didn't tell me what was going on, but they sent me in, and they threw me to the wolves. Years later, I had every kind of problem. I had big swollen things come out of my arms, under my armpits. My neck was all swollen for years. I didn't know what was the matter with me. In 1991, I was running on an ultimate frisbee field. I cut left, I cut right, and boom. Man, I was in so much pain. I got down, I pulled off my shoes, and the whole bottom of my foot was hanging from my sock. And I looked at I took my other shoe off, same thing, and I looked at my feet. It was 10,000 blisters, and all of them just ripped up. So where'd they come from? Where did these blisters come from? Whose feet, the whole bottom from the very front to the very back, is completely ripped off? A guy who is so severely exposed to chemicals at Metro Color Film Lab. And when this happened to me, I was at stage 10 at the same place. I took them to court. When I took them to court, I went to an old friend of mine. Her name was Martina A. Silas. And Martina looked at my case and said, "Ross, this is an unbelievable case." She took the case. And long story short, in the end, I won a jury verdict. I won a jury verdict of $6.65 million. Once I won, something very peculiar started happening. My friend of many years, Martina, all of a sudden wouldn't talk to me anymore. Everything that she had done, she turned it into controversy. So all of a sudden, this thing where we won a $6.5 million lawsuit turned into something negative. And I didn't understand it. I was looking at my old friend going, what has happened to Martina A. Silas? And I want you guys to understand, I'm doing this because I was given a bill. So they turned it around on me. My own attorney turned around my suit where I won. And all of a sudden she told me I lost. And then they sent it to the appellate court. And when they sent it to the appellate court, I won in Judge Paul Boland's court. Well, Judge Paul Boland, he got promoted to the appellate court. And where did they send my case? They sent it to Paul Boland. And you just got to understand, they can't do that. If Paul Boland let me win, then let me lose, and then it goes to him, and then he says you lose, what happened in Paul Boland's court? I'm going to tell you what happened in Paul Boland's court, and I'm going to tell you right now. And you're not going to believe it at first, but I'm going to show you documentation. And I also want to let you know why I did it. I have two children. I have a daughter who's 8. My son is 9, going on 10. My son told me, "Daddy, don't quit." And I said, "I'm not going to quit." My daughter, it was Christmas. I went by, I started to take down the tree, take everything so I could put it in the closet, put everything away. And I found a note. And I want you to see the note. I'm going to show you what she wrote. It's upside down, but you're going to see it. Look. It says secret note, and it has her name. And it's a secret note, but look what it says. "Hello, my name is," and it's her name. "I love my dad so much. Hillary Clinton stole all my dad's money, so my dad put his story on YouTube. He wants Trump to see his video. The reason Hillary's name is in blue is because blue is the liar's color. I want you all to like and subscribe. Sorry I was using the color blue. I want all to see and all to like and subscribe to his channel." Why did she say that Hillary Clinton stole my money? Well, Martina stole my money, but why did she say that Hillary Clinton did? Well, here's why. Martina A. Silas, less than 30 days till we pick a new president, and there she is with what she calls her new best friend forever, her new BFF. That's what she said on her Facebook. And she also said that she might be in the running for Attorney General of the United States of America. Okay, well, what did she do? What did she do? What did her and her friend do to Ross Cannell? During my trial, Martina had a guy that was her silent partner and confidant. His name was Bernie Bernheim. And this is the paper she sent to him. It says, Kickin' Bernheim, April 8, 1996, 10:20 a.m. Ganell versus Sony, Martina Silas. She sent this to Bernie saying, Bernie, this is what we've got in the fire. Bernie's happy with that. I go to court. And I win. I win a jury verdict of my peers. There was some controversy. Somebody forged my signature during the trial. But I went home and I found that it was actually a forgery, and I came back and I proved it was a forgery. Martina bragged about it in all of her papers. In Trial Lawyers Association of America, she wrote to them and told them that somebody forged my signature. That's a crime that somebody committed during the trial. Anyways, I prevailed and I won, and this is the verdict. The jury came for me and they said, Ross Ganell, you get economic damages of $750,000, $900,000 non-economic damages, and they decided to give me $5 million in punitive damages. This is the signature of Lynette Lewis White. Lynette Lewis White. She was the foreperson of my jury. And I want you to ask yourself something. You've listened to Adam Schiff talking about cheating. We're talking about cheating. What happened in my case? Did she cheat? She sat and listened to 23 days of testimony about how these people had all these other people dying of cancer, and they brought me in to clean up what was killing these people. They didn't actually get to hear about those people dying. They just got to hear that there was real problems at that particular laboratory, and that was all they were allowed to say. They were not allowed to introduce things like this, and I just want you to see it this way. Here's Adam Schiff. There he is, standing on the names of the dead. And here's the names of the dead. And I want you to look at Rebecca Lynn Fields and Sabrina Capello. Wrongful death. Wrongful death. These were the people that developed film in the film industry. And these machines were spitting chemicals all over these people, and Kodak knew it and everybody knew it. And these were dark rooms. These people worked in dark rooms. They were dark. They didn't see what was going on. When they moved them out of the dark rooms, when they were in trouble, they brought in Ross Ganell. They brought me in. And they said, this is your job, son. You come in here and you clean all this up. And I did. I cleaned up that laboratory and I made it spotless. They told me it was a spring cleaning, and I took it as though I was just doing a regular job. What they didn't tell me, they gave me a chemical called Absorb Cleaner. I sprayed it above my head and then it rained down on top of me. I went home soaking wet every single day, and my shoes sopped up in caustic and deadly chemicals. That's why I won. I told a story to a jury of 15 people, and that jury saw in my favor. Well, then, when Martina started acting up on me, what did happen? I didn't know, and 3 years went by. She dragged it through the mud, and all of a sudden she calls me on my wife's birthday. My wife, the person that I left for, I left Martina for my wife. I was her boy toy at some point, and I left her for my wife. So on her birthday, 3 years later, she says, sorry, Ross, you get nothing. So I started looking these people up, and I couldn't find much on Martina A. Silas. But here's what I found about Bernie Bernheim. 2 ways our state courts keep decisions under wraps. 2 ways that courts keep decisions under wraps. That sounded familiar. So I read it. I said the last procedure, known as vacatur, let's say somebody wins $100,000, Ross Ganell, in a court decision that might be a precedent for other cases by injured consumers. But the defendant agrees to pay $150,000 on the condition the plaintiff agrees to stipulate that the court decision be reversed. That way, no precedent. So what they've done is found this policy in the second appellate district that's called a vacatur. They are part of the second appellate district settlement program, and what they do is they settle it away. They bring in a fake attorney named Ned Good, the guy who was the exploding Pinto. He comes in and argues the same case Martina did, but he leaves out Lopez versus Serchia. It's the only point and authority for which I won. So you argue the point, you hand it to the appellate court, they act as though this is all what happened in the original court, and it goes away. They say our hands are tied. Their hands are tied because Lopez versus Surchia, the reason I won, is not in there. Well, what does it say about this? It says, Los Angeles attorney Bernie Bernheim calls this a judicial pocket veto. So Bernie, the guy we were talking about over here he is, Bernie Bernheim, in 96. So here in 1998, he's talking about a judicial pocket veto. So Martina's old buddy is talking about a judicial pocket veto, and they are the ones in control of my case. Okay? A judicial pocket veto. Ask yourself if you, the American people, are allowing the court to have Gunnell versus Metrocolor go forward, a man who was so poisoned, and then you're going to allow them to turn it around on me, and guess what they get to do? Because I won. Because I won, you get to give me a bill. But you don't, because it's a private bargain. It's private. You don't even have to tell me you took in my money. You can stick it in a bank account, and then you can draw interest off it until what? Until it turns into a zero. And that's what my problem is. Here, I want you guys to see what my problem is. Here's the bill. They gave me a bill. When they threw out my case, they gave me a bill for $327,000, and that was in the year 2001. Over the years, it has increased in interest. And after 4 years, 2004, the case was officially over. Every 10 years, Martina has to put it back in if she wants or expects to collect that judgment from me. In June 27 of 2014, look what I got. I got this bill for $1,051.63, June 27, 2014. Now, we're in 2019 at 10% interest. That's worth $1.8 million. That is $1.8 million that Martina Silas, here's Martina. There's Martina. That's the one who did it, okay? Here's her buddy, Bernie Bernheim. This is the one. Oh, wait. Look. His name's Stephen J. Bernheim. Well, guess what? Bar number of Stephen J. Bernheim is 143,319. Guess what the bar number of Bernie Bernheim is? It's 143,319. It's the same number. How does Bernie Bernheim and Stephen J. Bernheim have the same bar number? And look, talk about dangerous. This is Bernie Bernheim with the chief of the California courts, right there. Bernie Bernheim, probably the most dangerous man to the legal system in the state of California. He is the liaison to the insurance companies. He's the liaison to the insurance company. He's the guy that busted Charles Quackenbush way back. You look at the Charles Quackenbush. State Farm. Who was the State Farm guy? It was Bernie Bernheim. Bernie and Martina Silas. They're the ones who caught Quackenbush when he was messing around with State Farm and how much money that they were giving him and how much was actually going to the plaintiff. So what Martina and Bernie learned is they learned how to steal the money, and they learned it from Quackenbush, and they busted him. And they made Bernie Bernheim the liaison to the insurance business. Bernie Bernheim, who was he? Look him up. Bernie Bernheim defended somebody in Taylor versus State Farm. Taylor versus State Farm is against Burger Con, which is Martina's old firm. They showed up with the smoking gun tape of Amy Zuniga. Martina gave Bernie the smoking gun, and all of a sudden he's a superhero in insurance. Once you become a superhero in insurance, I guess taking Ross Gunnell's lawsuit and flushing it down the toilet is no big deal. But here's the problem, you guys, and I have to show it to you again. That's a $1 million bill. That's a $1 million bill. I have two kids. My daughter is terrified. Look at her note again. Look what she's saying. One more thing I want you to know about Bernie Bernheim, who is Stephen J. Bernheim. And here is a case, and it is called Adams versus Murakami. And I just want to tell you what Adams versus Murakami is. Adams versus Murakami says that when you win a lawsuit, in order for the person to feel the pain, they must the court must consider the net worth of the company that is getting the judgment against them. In my lawsuit, what they did to come up with the small verdict that they did, which was fine by me. They came up with a smaller verdict and it was fine by me. I would have settled for what the jury gave me. But this is what they did instead. They went into the holdings of AOL, or not AOL, they weren't AOL yet, Time Warner. They went into the holdings and they found Lorimar Lab Inc. It was the still photo. I didn't work for the still photo lab. I worked for the moving picture labs. 25-foot machines, threading film through them, going through chemicals, going through an air bath that blows off and dries it all. And it blows the chemicals all over the room and all over the people in the room. That's where I worked. And I worked in a very different situation. And those people made $100 an hour while I was making $12 an hour to clean up after them. And they did not tell me what I was doing there. Okay? So what we have to keep in context. If I seem a little bit upset, you have to understand, not only did they poison me, like in the Aaron Brockovich story, and I had the same doctors as in the Aaron Brockovich story, and they said they'd never seen anything quite as bad as what happened to me, though I was still a functioning individual. I played Ultimate Frisbee. I played Ultimate Frisbee for a long time, and that kept me alive. And that's what I was doing when my feet ripped off. And years later, somebody called me and said, Ross, did you work at that lab? I said, yes, I did. He said, everybody there was dying. You got to call Don Haggerty. And I called Don Haggerty, and Don Haggerty said, Ross, you cleaned up what killed all my men. And I went, I was sorry, but at the same time, I was frickin' dying myself. So I took him to court, and I won. And then my attorney turned on me because it wasn't beneficial to go after what are you going to do if there's no film in LA? I'm in Hollywood. This is Hollywood. If there's no film in Hollywood, what do you have? You have nothing. So they have chased me down. Donald Trump, I have been chased down for 21 years. I have 2 real children. They're real. My daughter just turned 8 and my son is about to turn 10 years old. I had them after 20 years of being away from that lab. I was clean. I rode my mountain. If you look behind me, I live on a mountain. I rode my mountain bike up to those radio towers 1,000 times trying to get all this out of my body. And I did a pretty good job. But because I healed myself does not give anybody the right to chase me down for 21 years. Adam Schiff, this is your district. You talk about cheating and you talk about lying. Vacatur. To vacate somebody's case, somebody that was so poisoned and so hurt, and the defendants were so large. They were Time Warner. They were Warner Brothers. They were Coca-Cola. Why Coca-Cola? Because they're a holding, that's why. And they all had interest in the lab. And it's the people that had interest in the lab. Who owned the other half of the lab? Walt Disney? You guys, you got to understand. I'm Gunnell versus Metrocolor. I'm Hollywood. You guys talk, and all the Hollywood people, you talk about being green, and I want to tell you something. What you did with film is not green. And every time you do a movie set, what do you do with that movie set? You throw it in the trash. You take all this lumber, this viable lumber, and you throw it in the trash. And don't tell me you don't, because I filled up 40-yard dumpsters my whole career. And I always said, man, you guys should be a little more green, and I was always hated. And then when I took Metrocolor to the court and I beat them, I was hated again. But my own attorney turned on me. Why'd she turn on me? Who was her uncle? Her uncle was George Cukor. Who's George Cukor? My Fair Lady. My Fair Lady. And what did they do to George that Martina didn't like? Well, what they did to George is Metrocolor Film Lab destroyed the editor's cut that belonged to George Cukor of My Fair Lady. And so he sued him over it. And she was proud because I guess he won and she won. And she won over Metrocolor Film Lab. But paying Ross Gunnell was not in the cards. You know what? Your little ex-boyfriend wasn't good enough to take the money. So you and your friend Bernie are going to steal the money, just like Quackenbush. Quackenbush gave away 50%. He would find his charities and he would give the money that the insurance companies were supposed to pay to the injured parties, and he would give it to charities of his liking instead. Kind of like Bernie Bernheim or Stephen J. Bernheim, like your dog charity that your wife runs. And what I'm doing, you guys have to understand, I'm calling out real attorneys. Bernie Bernheim, 1433319. Stephen J. Bernheim, 1433319. You guys, who in the world, what attorney goes around with the same bar number? Two different people. Who would know that Bernie Bernheim is Stephen J. Bernheim? Nobody. Not Ross Gunnell. I didn't know. So what I'm telling you guys, I am Gunnell versus Metrocolor. I killed film in Hollywood. I killed film. I didn't do it on purpose. She did it. That person killed film in Hollywood, and so did he. But I want to ask you this. When they used Lorimar, that was worth only a tiny amount of money to get that small verdict, and Adams versus Murakami is the law of the land. And by the way, who was the attorney on Adams versus Murakami? It was Stephen J. Bernheim, not Bernie. Stephen J. Bernheim was the attorney that established that you must use the net worth of the mother company, and it's 10 to 27%. And then in the second month of 2000, which is February of 2000, Ted Turner was forced to merge with AOL. Who in the heck was AOL? Is that you, Bernie? Bernie, did you take over 10 to 27% of AOL Time Warner? That's what I'd like to know. And I'd also like you guys to know this. I won. You saw my jury verdict. There it is. April 14th, 1999. April 14th, 1999. Here's a nice article. Warners, Semmel and Daly saw turf compensation threatened. Sources say August 6th of 1999. Think about this. Sorry, trash day. August 6th of 1999. In April, both Terry Semmel and Bob Daly empathetically denied having any plans to leave their longtime posts as co-heads of Warner Brothers. Oh, really? What happened in April to make them have to leave? Daly says he couldn't possibly have revealed what he was thinking in April because it would have wreaked havoc on the company. He could not tell you guys that what they did at Metrocolor Film Lab, because they had that lawsuit going from 1981 to 1989. You did it for 8 years. You were killing people for 8 years. Ask yourself about the people that had wrongful death. How close is wrongful death to murder? It's pretty damn close, isn't it, Ted? Isn't it, Ted? And Ted was pissed off. So it says here the executives, both of whom made about $20 million per year. Sources have suggested for some time that both Semmel and Daly were chafing under increased scrutiny and pressure from Warner's largest shareholder, Ted Turner. Ted Turner, because Ted Turner, you lost to Ross Gunnell in court. But my attorney, you either bought her or you bought Bernie or Bernie bought you. What happened? When Bernie won 10 to 27% of AOL or of Time Warner as AOL and forced you to, did he force you to merge with AOL? Because that's what it looks like to me. And what happens? I'm the collateral damage. And now I've got a bill. I have a bill. But here, look at this. Just so you guys know, 5.1, 10 to 27%. Would be $500 million to $1.5 billion that Bernie Bernheim could have won as the secret ruler of Gunnell versus Metrocolor. Remember, the guy who wrote Adams versus Murakami in 91 is here in 1996, and then in 1998 he writes two ways the California courts get rid of lawsuits that they don't want Ross Gunnell. They get rid of him, and if Ross Gunnell makes a noise, you give him the bill. And if you give him the bill, that'll shut him up. $1.8 million, Ross. What are you going to do? I'm going to tell Donald Trump. That's what I'm going to do. I'm in Adam Schiff's district, and he's talking about cheating. I'm going to tell you I've been so cheated. And I also want you to know this. My mother-in-law was the night maid for Bob Daly and Terry Semmel. The day before they had their Time Warner meeting in New York, it says they had planned to meet the board after his scheduled July 14th meeting with Daly and Semmel in New York. Zorica's mom calls and says, Zorica, everybody out of town, everybody in New York, everybody fired. So they knew it in L.A. before he even told them, because my mother-in-law told me. There you go. This is Ross Gunnell, red tag to red carpet, talking about the cheating that's happening in Adam Schiff's court, in Adam Schiff's district. Paul Boland. Paul Boland was the judge. Paul Boland was the one at the appellate level, and Paul Boland's son is the chief of staff for Adam Schiff. And there you have it. Corruption in a nutshell. California run by Hollywood. Barack Obama. There's Hollywood right there. There's Hollywood, you guys. Check it out. I'm not mad at you yet because I don't know you're guilty. I don't know you know. But I know that Ronald George knew because the chief prosecuting attorney of the California State Bar in 2003, Nancy Brown, she told me that Bernie knew. She told me Bernie was the liaison to the insurance business. Ross Gunnell signing out. Bye.